designers and movie makers
just getting them to spend time for that is probably like...
They tend to, though. Yeah, if you ask in schools, typically, in my experience, people are excited to speak with children at least.
True. Even with university, like I was in a panel discussion for the UNESCO a few weeks back about mentorship. And then like the attendees also like, mentorship is important because it's like not like teaching, right? It's more like giving like guidelines and giving like real life feedback. Just true. And they said like, but usually professional mentors, they are too busy and they don't want to spend time on that. But from my experience, it's just like you said, they are happy to share actually. Yes. As long as it's not like too much, as long as they don't ask them like all the time.
Yep.
But if you have like actually really good questions, they are happy to share their knowledge.
I think you're right. It has a lot to do with that. With my students, we had a volcanologist come in earlier this year. It was really cool. And then later when some students were asking questions about volcanoes, then I screened the questions with them and discuss and say, okay, that one you could Google. This one, actually, that's a really great question for an expert. And I think you have to guide students in asking real questions, but also in synthesizing the answers, because often they'll just get the answers and go, look, I got an answer, but not read and put that together with what they already know and with their other sources to actually learn from it. So that has to be guided in some kind of discussion or activity as well.
Oh, no, completely different thing that pops up to my mind now, but because you said that, how do you make sure that like when students, they use technology, right, to find something out, to learn something, how do you make sure that they actually understand it? Is that something that always comes up when I talk EdTech with people? They're like, you can Google everything or you can use the internet to find information, but do you actually understand it? Like, how do you make sure they understand it?
I think that's the whole idea of the flipped classroom, right? Is that you use that time outside of the classroom to get the knowledge, because knowledge is easy to get now.
Exactly.
But then in the class, that's when you do the discussion, and that's when you actually use it. So for me, it's really obvious in formative assessment in the classroom if you just say little things like asking students, what do you know about angles? And then they write it down, and then you say, right, okay, not anything, good. Now let's watch this video, and now share it with your friends, and now we'll use that information. I think that transfer and application, you have to transfer and apply it to something else. If they can use that, and Brain Pop's really great for a lot of information for students, and they're really good at taking notes, but then you catch them in their understanding on the actual application and the implementation of that knowledge. And that has to be in class, because you can't really see that if they do that at home as much, because it might not be them.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Okay, back to my the question. It's just like sometimes things pop up and you have to talk about it. Actually, I only have two questions left that I prepared. So let's see. First, since we bashed the Startup Begin Education, which I was a part of the organizing team. Thank you, Sarah.
Sorry, Sasha.
Oh, it's fine. We're still friends, maybe. Check your Facebook later.
Hey, I went!
How would the ideal event look like for you, like an EdTech event, like with focus on education? How would it look like?
It's a good question.
Finally, a good question. 30 minutes in the podcast and I have a good question. Because
I've been to a few other more education-based events, right? And I think that at some of them, it goes really deep into skills, and you don't have time to process the skills and use them. Same with students, you have to apply it, otherwise it's just knowledge that's fleeting. And in other ones, I find that it's the opposite, and it's more just theory or like a culture almost of we're the techie people and we know what's going on, and the rest of you just don't get it. And I think both extremes are detrimental to growth. So I think the best model that I've seen yet is the deep learning conference that I went to, where they do, I presented and I had to do, I think maybe two or three little 20-minute kind of pitches for my deep dive workshop. So then everyone goes to, 5 different pitch things, and then later they had longer sessions where it was basically just playing with those ideas. which is nice. So you get to talk about it and play with it, and then have that. It's kind of like that mentor expert, right?
Right.
When you're playing with making videos, I made a how-to, right?
Oh, yeah.
I could do that on my own, no problem. But having an expert there to ask little detailed questions too, and actually having time to play with it, means that I can actually translate to my classroom. And I've made many more in 2 minutes each sometimes because I know how, right? So it's, I think, like that skill that you get the idea and then you see how you can use it in your classroom quickly, but you need time to play with it too.
Right. Okay.
For education technology specifically.
Okay. So, startup weekend education people, listen up. That's what we have to implement next time.
Can talk with Wes and get his deep learning ideas.
Okay, and then actually the last question that I usually ask is like, what would you want to see, or what would you change, like in the near future, in like terms of education and technology? Say this needs to change. I want to make this happen, or this should happen, or you say it's awesome anyways because we're so awesome and everything is awesome.
There are a lot of awesome things.
Are you looking forward to something that's going to happen, or that you think is going to happen? It's going to like put education and technology on another level.
I think in my mind the cool future of personalized learning would have kind of, I don't know exactly what the format would be, but where a student's interested in a topic and then they can kind of browse and find related content, but also in a format that allows them to connect with other people who are interested in it and discuss and maybe create in that connection within that group of people, or however that works. I don't know the format, but I think it would be cool if, and I think there is that technology already to track your interests, the ads that pop up all over.
Sure.
To track what you're interested in, but then collect information to push you, and also connect you with experts and pop up things that automatically push you to create and connect.
So like an educational internet.
Yeah, I guess.
Would be ideal,
Think big, eh?
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah. Famous last words.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I think the key is connection. That's my famous last word.
Okay, that's so nice. Thank you.